yesterday. Yeah.
No.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Moved by Councillor Arola, seconded by Councillor Moffat. Resolved that the regular meeting commence at the hour of 7 p.m. And be it further resolved that Council acknowledges that we are meeting on the Robinson-Superior Treaty area on lands that have been traditionally used by several Indigenous nations. We would like to pay special recognition to our closest Indigenous neighbors, the communities of Bitagon, Anishinaabe, and Pikmowit First Nations. We wish to recognize the long history of the First Nations and Métis people in our region, specifically, and show respect to them today. All in favor? Next thing, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Nothing. Is there any peculiar disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Arola. Resolved that the agenda be approved as circulated. All in favor? There are no delegations or presentations, so we'll move to the agenda of the previous minutes.
Through the chair, it was brought to our attention that there was an error on
Correspondence. There are two items. Are they? Nothing has to be discussed, so. No. Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Scampanello. Resolved that the correspondence item 0801 to 0802 be received and filed. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Arola. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Manitouwadge Public Library Board held November 12, 2019 be accepted as received. All in favor? Thank you. Moved by Councillor Arola, seconded by Councillor Scampanello. Resolved that the minutes of the meeting of the Thunder Bay District Social Service Administration Board held November 20, 2019 special and November 21, 2019 regular, November 21, 2019 closed be accepted as received. All in favor? There is no vote, so I'm not making a vote.
Donovan report. Just to give a brief update from the CAO. We were successful in getting the ski hill open through a lot of work from recreation staff. We were open Sunday for the first time with in excess of 45 people out skiing for the day. They also had their 12th night celebrations that night with a good attendance, so it was nice to see. They are scheduled for January 26th, which is a Sunday at 2 p.m., to do an official reopening of the ski hill. There'll be cake and prizes and a ribbon cutting, and if any councillor members are available to attend, you would be 26th. Yes, it's a Sunday at 2 p.m. As council may notice, we've over the Christmas shutdown, we were able to get chambers repainted and some finishing touches to redo, but work is progressing well. We've done a lot of work. We've given some updates to council in the past about the heating system in this building and the rec center. They've been successful in getting this building straightening out, and the system's been running consistently for a month or so now, Shelley, I guess, and working well as it should. And we have a couple things to continue on at the rec center to fix over there, but hopefully they have the idea of the problems now, and we can get that sorted out shortly as well. Next Wednesday night will be the first meeting for the Community Revitalization Committee, 7 o'clock, Florence, in the council chambers. So it's open to the public, that process, and the committee members have all been informed, and Florence has given all them the information to start next week and get that committee underway. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Councillor Scapanello, seconded by Councillor Moffat, being a bylaw to provide for relief of tax increases for the purpose of relieving financial hardship, be read a first and second time. This is just a standard.
Yeah. Chris, do you want to speak to the
explanation?
Through the chair, in 2016, Council approved bylaw 2016-22 to provide for a rebate for tax increase for the purpose of relieving financial hardship. In order to maintain legislative requirements, some housekeeping to the bylaw and the application were required. This is a mandatory application that we shall have. And for Section 319 states, for the purposes of relieving final hardship, a municipality other than a lower tier municipality may pass a bylaw providing for deferrals or cancellation of or other relief in respect of all reported tax increases for 1998 and subsequent years on property in the residential class for persons assessed as owners who are or whose spouses are low-income seniors as defined in the bylaw or low-income persons with disabilities as defined in the bylaw. Tax relief must be given by a municipality other than a lower tier municipality. The changes we made to the bylaw are the existing 2016-22 bylaw are just housekeeping. There were just a few omissions, and we just clarified it, and with consulting MTE, Municipal Tax Advocate experts.
Okay. Are there any questions? Seeing none. And further be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-01. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Scapanello, second by Councillor Rolla, being a bylaw to establish 2020 services and charges, be read a first and second time.
Do you want to speak to it at all, Chris? We have all the managers here, and Chris has highlighted the sections in the bylaw that have significant changes or things of interest we thought would maybe of interest to council.
Okay.
If you'd like to discuss any of those, there's questions, we can have the managers field those for you.
Were there any?
Okay, yeah, through the chair, I did have one question. I'm trying to look for the section right now. But basically, it has to do with the dog tags. I was under the impression that if a dog was chipped or tattooed, that it only had to be registered at the township the one time, and then it was okay for subsequent years, didn't have to pay.
That is
correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
the only time there would be a...
It's not stated in there.
Just let me have a look here. The only time there would be a fee if you sold your dog or somebody,
right.
A new owner, they would have to re-register because we've got to keep all the information.
Okay.
Just let me go to that section.
That's just something that I...
Through the chair, there is a note in there. It says microchipped cats and dogs require one-time registration upon ownership.
Where is that? I missed it.
That's at the very last line under municipal law enforcement on page 1 of that. Just after dogs and cats.
Sorry, that was on page...
After municipal law enforcement, page 1.
It's on page 41.
41 of our... Okay. We'll look at that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Any further questions on?
And just for council's information, we do have the chip reader, so
Yes.
we're prepared to start that service right away.
No, I was aware of that.
Yeah.
That's why I thought
good.
it was something that should have been
Okay,
in here.
thank you. And furthermore, be it read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-02. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Scampanello, being a bylaw to provide an interim tax levy for the year 2020, be read a first and second time.
Through the chair, Municipal Act Section 317 states a municipality, before the adoption of the estimates for the year under Section 290, may pass a bylaw levying amounts on the assessment of property in the local municipality rateable for municipality purposes. This year, as we don't have an approved budget, we have nothing to levy, an approved levy for the year 2020. So through the Municipal Act, we can apply an interim levy. Just housekeeping.
Sure.
This is standard across the board.
Okay, thank you. And further be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-03. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Moffat, being a bylaw to authorize a lease agreement with Monique Florent, carrying on business in the business name of Min's Outdoor Catering, to provide food services at the Kawasa Ski Chalet Kitchen for the Corporation of Township of Manitowais, be read a first and second time. Any questions? And further be read a third time, passed and numbered as bylaw number 2020-04. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Rolla, seconded by Councillor Scampanello. Resolved that Council has receipt of Administration Report FBA 2020-01 submitted by Owen Cranny, Acting CAO, regarding helicopter landing request. Mr. Cranny, you're on there.
Council, you've all received the Administration Report and supporting documents about the request. I've tried to put as much information in there as I could to help you make a decision, and I'd certainly welcome any questions that you have.
Through the chair, I'm just considering Mr. Turner's request. I noticed in your report that there were special circumstances for landing fees if they were proved safe by the...
No landing fees at the airport?
No, I'm sorry, not landing fees, just landing areas. Sorry, there was...
the letter.
Right.
He was off, so I ended up speaking to somebody in Sudbury, and he suggested that if they were going to go that way, that there is a work plan approval process and to follow that process. Unfortunately, the fellow that wrote the letter, and when I talked to Transport about the letter, they just said the letter says there's no noted violation. It's not an approval, was what the statement I received.
Okay, yeah, that's how
I asked
understood
about that, and he said, no, it's not an approval. What he said, from what we looked at, we did not observe a violation.
Right.
So they were clear about that, and they suggested that I talk to the Ontario Hydro chief pilot, who was not available till January 13th. So I didn't have that opportunity to talk to that individual.
Okay. So, my thoughts on all this through the chair is that, if Mr. Turner is willing to go through the rezoning that he needs and get the approval for this landing safely, then I've got no problems with it. But it would be up to him to then, that changing from residential to a commercial or whatever zoning had to be changed, then it's up to him he'd have to, have the proper insurance in place and so on in order to do that. So that would be, his responsibility to be compliant. That's my thoughts.
Do you have any questions?
No, I agree with Mr. Moffat. If Mr. Turner was willing to do what he needs to do to proceed safely, I mean, I don't see a problem with it. I mean, as he stated earlier, they're willing to carry on paying the fees, so I mean, it won't impact our budget in a sense. As long as they can do it safely, I don't have an issue with it.
Through the chair, if I may, that was one individual of different from one company that said that, not all the people that would maybe look at that option. Just to be clear.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so through the chair, it would have to be negotiated right, and it would have to be fair to the community as a whole to move forward with something like that.
Do you have any questions, Councilor?
Through the chair, no. There's always been residents out there for years. So if there's a need to change the zone, then fine. I see a net benefit to allowing landings out there, so I'm in approval.
My only concern is that if you do it for one, you might have to do it for other people as well. So as long as the person that's applying is willing to pay whatever it costs to do the rezoning and whatever it costs to bring the safety issues up to where they have to be acceptable to the municipality as well, then I don't see a problem with that.
That's correct, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no other. So, okay, how do we want to word this then?
You called the question and know what you want to ask for here. I hear about zoning. I hear about making sure insurance
And insurance and safety.
and safety and the fees somehow be worked out.
Fees for all of the
All
anybody
fees for
landing
those
there,
things.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And,
through the chair, is there a requirement for a zone change then?
Right now, he doesn't comply with the zoning for that activity. We have M2, which I submitted to you
Yeah.
for
Right,
that.
yeah, you'd have to.
And,
you'd have to read.
yeah.
So the zoning is necessary?
Yeah, and the zoning actually is a 90-day process that has to come back to council. That gets a zone. They did pretty well sling loads and long line loads every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that requires permits. You don't get to just have a thing. So every time you do work like that, you'd need an aerial permit issued for that work. So anytime you're going to sling loads or do
Okay,
any
so-
loads on the
Right.
exterior of the helicopter.
So
And
we would
could
say-
look at that further detail and get you information. If there was a zoning application process, we could look at that through that process, because you're going to have to make site-specific zoning
Right.
for that, if that's the way council chooses to go.
Right. Because as it sits right now, if this was approved for Mr. Turner, I could theoretically get a helicopter land in my backyard because it's residential. You know what I'm saying? That it's not that I have the space, but that's where I think the zoning, yes, is important.
Well, through the
what-
chair, Mr. Turner's property is,
Brother, I know that, but it's still zoned residential.
no, I agree, I
Yeah.
understand that, but I'm not a helicopter pilot by no means, but from what I do understand, they have the right to land wherever they want to land.
And that's
As long
not
as they can-
No.
quite the truth.
And that may be the case, like I said,
Only in
I don't know the
emergencies.
laws, I just, from what I've heard and from what I've understood, they are allowed to, in an emergency state, or,
Through the chair, if I may, we have had situations. In 2016, we had one where they landed a helicopter in the parking lot of the donut shop.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is the kind of activity that we don't want happening
Right.
for safety reasons.
Yeah.
We're not the first municipality to go through this. I talked to Atikokan. They have the exact same email that I received about requiring the thing, and it shouldn't be happening for their municipality from Transport Canada. And I understand the municipality of Sioux Lookout also went through the same thing. And it was upheld that it wouldn't happen. It would happen at the airport.
Okay, but, yeah.
Again, through the chair, not in a negative way, but I don't feel that a helicopter pilot would land his helicopter if it was going to endanger anybody or put somebody at risk.
I would
just my
question landing
opinion.
at the parking lot of the donut shop.
That doesn't sound like a good
Yeah.
So through the chair, the zoning thing, there were residents out there long ago, 4 homes as a matter of fact.
No, but that
There was
doesn't,
never a zoning requirement change back then.
If I may, through the chair. The 2 houses that are now privately held and rented out to the traveling public were owned by the M&R and used by their staff, and the helicopters were their operation.
Right.
And also they used the helipads across the road, not on the property in question.
Okay.
They were separated away from the buildings, and then the building next door was also the M&R. There
Right.
was those 2 houses on the far side of that property, but that was it. And
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Okay.
And be it further resolved that upon conclusion of Council's review and consideration, direct staff as follows. Council is in support providing the applicant is compliant with all required regulations, zoning, and Transport Canada, and a system of fees. All in favor? We'll work out the exact details of it later on. But moved by Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Sampanello, whereas Section 239.4 of the Municipal Act 2001, SM 2001 C25, provides that before holding a meeting or part of a meeting that is to be closed to the public, municipality or local board or committee of either of them shall state by resolution the fact of holding of the closed meeting and the general nature of the matter to be considered at the closed meeting. Now therefore be it resolved that this meeting is hereby closed to the public as the subject matter being discussed falls under the following section. Section 239.2J, trade secret is scientific, technical, commercial, or financial information that belongs to the municipality or local board and has monetary value or potential monetary value. The LNG project. All in favor? Thank you.